I like Indiana Jones. You like Indiana Jones. So let's talk about the Indiana Jones movies that we didn't get. Welcome back to the Junkman, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with another video. Oh, everyone's talking about Indiana Jones. Everybody can't wait. There's a new Indiana Jones, a fifth Indiana Jones movie. Harrison Ford back. He's probably like 85 years old. And if he doesn't get hurt again on the set, we'll have an Indiana Jones 5. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I know he's old. He's old. Okay, he's old. Get over it. People get old. Sure, it's not going to be as good as Raiders or Temple of Doom because that's stuff from your childhood. Nothing's going to be able to match that. But I know Crystal Skull sucked. It's an okay movie. It's a bad Indiana Jones movie. It's an okay movie. First half's okay. But there were a lot of other Indiana Jones movies that we didn't get. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of go over some of the ones we didn't get and maybe even got close to getting. That could be a lot of fun. Now, before I do that, I want to tell you about a way to save money and look cool as hell when you do it. Now I know what you're going to say. Junkman, why are you wearing a jersey? Are you going to start a Little League team? No. I just love this jersey. Look at it. It's got my name on it. It even has a 12 for the original 12 Star Wars figures. See? It's even on the back. And best of all, you can get one also. Custom jersey with whatever name you want it. Now mine says Junkman, but please, you probably don't want yours to say Junkman. You want something else on it. You can also have your own number. You can even put the number 28 on it. You know what I'm talking about right there. Where do you get this jersey at? Well, TeamJerseysPro.com. But the best of all, you get 10% off if you use the code Junkman. That's right. Descriptions in the link to the descriptions for that's in the link below. So you don't have to remember what I said. Go to the description, click that link, and get you a custom jersey today, just like this one. Let's go all the way back before the last Crusade to talk about what would have been or could have been the third Indiana Jones movie. Now, there was a series of movies that kind of ripped off Indiana Jones called Romance in the Stone. The next one was called Jewel of the Nile. I don't think I ever saw that one. I don't know why they didn't keep the title somewhere similar. It's hard to say. Romance in the Stones movies, because one's called something, should have made it something easier to name. Anyway, I love Romance in the Stone, the first one, and its writer, Diane Thomas, wrote Romance in the Stones and was hired to write a new Indiana Jones movie, the third one. The Diane Thomas screenplay has never leaked out, and there's not really that much information on it. We do know the title was Indiana Jones and the Haunted Mansion, which seems to be one of George Lucas's plan to place the third Indiana Jones movie and Indiana Jones himself inside of a haunted house. Spielberg was approached by the plans, however felt it was too close to Poltergeist, and he didn't want to return to the ghost theme again. Spielberg felt it was retread of an old ground, and so they canceled the whole plans for Indiana Jones inside of a haunted mansion. So we didn't get to see Indiana Jones chase down ghosts. I don't know how the fans would have took to that one. I mean, it's hard enough getting them to trust a movie about Indiana Jones meeting aliens. Well, what about Indiana Jones meeting a monkey? Well, the Monkey King. Indiana Jones and the Monkey King, which was also titled Indiana Jones and the Garden of Life. This was another plan George Lucas had for the third Indiana Jones film. And Chris Columbus was hired to write the screenplay. Chris Columbus was on a roll with Gremlins and the Goonies in the 80s, and he would have been perfect for Indiana Jones. The adventure would have kicked off in Scotland in 1935. But after talking with Marcus Brody, Indiana Jones finds himself headed toward Africa to meet a zoologist named Clark. She had discovered a 200-year-old pygmy by the name of Tyche. Tyche would give Indiana Jones a map to the directions of a lost city. Blocking their way to get to the lost city is the Nazis. What was at the lost city? Well, it was the Fountain of Youth. And believe it or not, Indiana Jones gets killed in this one. But he gets brought back to life. Yes, India is brought back to life by the 200-year-old pygmy in what is called the Garden of Immoral Peaches. What is the Garden of Immoral Peaches? Well, if you're not pure of heart and you eat a peach, death awaits. Also, in one of the drafts of this film, Jones is forced by the Monkey King to play a game of chess with real people as pieces. One thing I really liked about this one that was different is one of the students from Indy's class gets to tag along with Indy. We hadn't seen that yet, and that would be kind of cool. This movie here got so far into production, they even started looking for locations. But then Lucas and Spielberg would put the whole plans for Indiana Jones on hold, feeling that the script was a little too far-fetched. And coming off some of the criticism from Temple of Doom, they felt maybe they were leaning into a dangerous territory with some stereotypes. This was something Spielberg and Lucas both wanted to avoid. The draft of this film did leak online, and it seems like it would be very, very expensive. What did Spielberg think of the Chris Columbus script? He was quoted as saying, "It made him feel old. Too old to direct it anyway." I'm not even really sure what that means. I'll put a link to that script in the description below if you'd like to check it out. Now, let's go to Mars. This is probably the title most of you probably are familiar with. Indiana Jones and the Saucermen from Mars. I bet Lucas came up with that title. This was planned to be the fourth Indiana Jones movie. And if it went ahead according to plan, you probably would have saw work begin around 1993. Lucas hired writer Jeb Stewart to write the script. But that was passed on to Jeffrey Baum, the co-writer of The Last Crusade. And this one, Indiana Jones almost gets married. Among the guests at the wedding, we would have saw Marion, Willie, Salah, his father. But instead of walking down the aisle, his would-be wife hops into a car on the big day and disappears. Then begins a search to find her. Now, he did get married in Crystal Skull, but the one thing they didn't do was bring back some of his past people to come to his wedding. Wouldn't that have been great to see Willie Scott's short round? Maybe a motorhome. I don't think he would have showed up for the wedding. He got eaten by crocodiles. But you know, it would have been nice to see that part of the wedding. It seems like his would-be wife discovered alien bodies on a strange stone cylinder. Indy and his would-be wife cracked the code on the strange stone, which turns out to be coordinates leading them to a mountain. But he's not the only one looking for it. Also a Russian spies. And as Indy tries to rescue McGregor from one of the planes, a flying saucer appears. And then they see a truck being lifted off the ground, power of an alien. Meanwhile, a mysterious countdown clock ticks away. After fighting and killing some bad guys, Indy leaves and him and his would-be wife are free to go to get married. And taking them back to their wedding to end the film, driving the car would have been Short Round. It seems like even way back then, they was talking about bringing aliens into the world of Indiana Jones. At least George Lucas was. Spielberg was never a big fan of bringing aliens into it. He didn't even like it for the Crystal Skull. So what happened to this film? Well, it seems Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford weren't too keen on the whole alien as a plot device. But after reading Jeffrey's script in 1995, they felt stronger about the material. However, Independence Day was released, and that seemed to kill the project, being too similar. Okay, we talked about aliens, we talked about ghosts, we even talked about 200-year-old pygmies. What else is left for Indiana Jones? A lost continent. One that we don't have a lot of information on is Indiana Jones and the Lost Continent. This seems to be a tie-in to the lost city of Atlantis, what Indiana Jones already went searching for in the video game Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. However, this Indiana Jones and the Lost Continent is more of a rumor project, and there's really no evidence of this thing even being planned by Lucas. And the story goes Spielberg and Harrison Ford didn't like the plot device. We've heard that before. But George Lucas wanted to give it a go. But Spielberg, Lucas, and Ford all had an agreement after Last Crusade. They would not do a fourth film if they all couldn't agree on a project. What seems to kind of die out by Crystal Skull, Spielberg's been on record saying he wasn't really a fan of it, but Lucas wanted to do it, so they did it. So I think Lucas just warmed down and where they said, let's just go ahead and do this Crystal Skull. Let's do it. Lucas likes it. There are some casting rumors with this movie also, but really no evidence to back it up. Kevin Costner's name was floated around as one of the actors to play his brother, and another one was Tom Selleck, which would have been kind of cool being that Tom Selleck almost got cast as Indiana Jones. And rumor also says that Sandra Bullock would play an archaeologist student in the movie. Again, this movie is mostly down to rumors. And now, Indiana Jones and the City of Gods. This is probably the fourth Indiana Jones movie that we wanted. Written by Frank Darabont. This was a great choice to write the fourth film. Spielberg is said to have loved the script, but George Lucas didn't. After 3 drafts had been written, George Lucas wasn't happy. The script was being worked on in the mid-2000s, until it ended in 2003. In one early draft of the script, Indiana Jones has a 13-year-old daughter, with Marion being the mother. But Spielberg felt he already did a character similar to that in the Jurassic Park sequel, so he wanted to take that part out. The movie was set in the 1950s, having Indiana Jones about 20 years older than the previous films. At his school, he has a Russian colleague that has found himself in possession of one of the 13 crystal skulls. Yep, the crystal skulls. Marion would have been brought back for this film also, as she was the one to hire the Russian colleague to help find the skulls. We learned that Marion is married, not to Indiana Jones, and is on a quest to find the lost city of Gods. The skulls are needed as a key to get to the city. At the city of Gods, you would have to take the alien crystal skull head and attach it to an alien skeleton body. Also, some mummified remains come back to life, and they are granted one wish each. Some of them pick the wrong wish and end up dead again, and Indiana Jones wishes for Marion. Then the story goes on with a flying saucer taking them to the city of Gods, where it explodes. Indy and Marion go back to America and get married, and there's no sign of a son named Mutt. One of the drafts was thought to be leaked online, but it's never been confirmed. But a lot of people that read it loved the fast-pacing action sequences, and was more successful, they thought, at telling an alien story set inside the world of Indiana Jones than they did for the Crystal Skull. And also in the script was some former Nazis. So why didn't this one happen? Why didn't we get this one? Well, this time it was all due to George Lucas. Harrison Ford and Spielberg loved the script, but Lucas was never sold on it. He took over the script himself and brought in his own writers. Frank said he was very disappointed by this and felt like he wasted a year of his life, saying that he felt like the whole thing went down in flames because George Lucas didn't like the script. According to an interview he did back in 2007 with MTV, Frank Dorman said he met with George Lucas over the matter, and he told George Lucas he thought he was insane, but he added that George Lucas was a stubborn man and he didn't even blink an eye. Asked if he was the one that leaked the script, he said, "At this point I don't give a damn what George Lucas thinks, but I wouldn't want to harm my friendship with Steven Spielberg." Some of his early plans in those scripts did end up in the Crystal Skull, which didn't sit too well with him. You can kind of understand why. He didn't get a writing credit. Anyway, let's look at some of the Indiana Jones films that we didn't get. Did we get lucky and not get them? Or some of these you wish we did get? Do you wish we got them instead of Crystal Skull? Okay, Crystal Skull's getting bashed too much. It's not that bad. Bad Indiana Jones movie, but it's not that. I mean, it's watchable. Come on. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Thumb up if you like my content. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again soon.
Junkman. Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.